In this video, we're uncovering the inventions that could have changed the world, but were rejected, ignored, or forgotten. What if everything you knew about history was wrong? Imagine a world where Nikola Tesla's vision of wireless electricity illuminated cities, where electric cars were mainstream over 100 years ago, or where sustainable energy sources were embraced far earlier. These aren't just dreams of the past, they were real inventions, with the potential to change the course of history. Yet, for reasons that still baffle historians, these groundbreaking ideas were cast aside. The world chose to ignore them, and in doing so, missed out on a future that could have been. Today, we're going to explore 3 incredible inventions that were rejected by society and ask the question, what if we had embraced them? What if they had shaped our world today? Nikola Tesla, a name that's synonymous with innovation, is best known for his work on alternating current. But he had a grander vision, one that could have fundamentally altered how we power our world. In the late 19th century, Tesla proposed a system for wireless transmission of electricity. His idea was nothing short of revolutionary. What if we could access power without needing wires at all? The possibilities were endless. Imagine a world where cities were powered wirelessly, where your phone or device could stay charged without ever needing a plug. Tesla believed he could send electricity through the air, just like radio waves. Tesla built a massive tower in Wardenclyffe, New York, meant to demonstrate his invention. But it was never completed. Despite his genius, Tesla couldn't secure enough funding to finish his work. The financial backers lost interest, and the dream of wireless power was left to gather dust. But what if Tesla had succeeded? What if wireless power had become the standard, and we didn't need to rely on the sprawling infrastructure of power lines that we still use today? How much cleaner and more efficient could our energy systems have been? Tesla's dream was ahead of its time, an idea that could have completely disrupted the world's approach to energy. Instead, it was shelved, and we are still left wondering what might have been. The electric car, today it's a symbol of the future, of sustainability and innovation. But did you know that electric cars were actually developed in the late 19th and early 20th centuries? Long before gasoline engines dominated the streets, early electric vehicles, EVs, were a promising technology. In fact, by the 1900s, electric cars were incredibly popular. They were quiet, efficient, and didn't require a crank to start like gasoline-powered cars. Some of the wealthiest and most influential figures of the time, like Thomas Edison, were investing heavily in EV technology. The Detroit Electric Car Company sold hundreds of electric cars, and they were even used by prominent figures like Clara Ford, the wife of Henry Ford. But despite this early success, electric cars were overshadowed by the rise of the gasoline engine. The Ford Model T, with its mass production efficiency, made gasoline cars more affordable and convenient. The lack of infrastructure for charging stations and the high cost of batteries pushed electric vehicles to the fringes. Oil companies, too, had an interest in preserving the gasoline market. By the 1920s, electric cars were all but forgotten. Instead, the world embraced fossil fuels, setting us on the path we know today. But imagine for a moment if we had doubled down on electric cars back then. What if the world had chosen to focus on clean energy and electric vehicles? How different would our environmental crisis look today? What if we had already transitioned to a sustainable electric-powered transportation system? The early electric car was a missed opportunity that could have reshaped our world, saving us from the pollution and dependence on fossil fuels we now face. While the world was focused on coal, oil, and natural gas, there were brilliant minds exploring alternative energy sources that could have helped prevent the environmental damage we see today. In the 1920s, scientists like Charles Garrett and others were experimenting with wind and solar power on a large scale. Garrett, for example, developed a solar-powered car in 1927, and early wind turbine designs were being tested for large-scale energy production. However, due to lack of investment and interest, these ideas were dismissed. The world chose to stick with the status quo, relying on non-renewable resources. One of the most fascinating stories is the tale of the 1930s energy-from-the-air technology developed by inventor Nikola Tesla's protege, Ralph W.H. Willey. He demonstrated how it was possible to generate energy from the natural environment without the need for burning fuel. Yet, just like Tesla's wireless power, his ideas were rejected. Investors didn't see the value, and the promise of a cleaner, more sustainable energy future was pushed aside. Had these alternative energy sources been embraced earlier, How much further along would we be in the fight against climate change today? What if renewable energy had been developed on a massive scale in the early 20th century? Would the world be using wind and solar power to fuel our cities and industries instead of relying on the destructive fossil fuels that have caused irreversible damage? These are just a few examples of inventions that could have changed history, but were dismissed by society. From Tesla's wireless electricity to early electric cars, to the untapped potential of alternative energy, the world could have been a very different place if these ideas had been embraced. As we reflect on the past, it's easy to wonder, what could our world look like today if these inventions had succeeded? What if we had chosen innovation over tradition, progress over the status quo? These missed opportunities serve as a reminder that history is often shaped not by the inventions themselves, but by the choices we make about which ideas to support and which to let slip into oblivion. Perhaps in the future we'll look back at the ideas of today with the same sense of awe, wondering how different the world could have been if we had given them the chance to flourish. But for now, we can only wonder, what if?